Live from New Delhi, you're watching DT India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. At least 24 killed and several injured in massive bomb blast at Prasar Railway Station in Pakistan's Balochistan. Thousands of supporters of Bangladesh Nationalist Party hold rallies in Dhaka, demand political reforms and fresh parliamentary elections. Trump's Republicans hold narrow edge and fight for US House majority, secure 212 seats and counting, need 6 more. Amsterdam bans protest after anti-Semitic squads attack Israeli soccer fans. Dutch PM Dick Schoof tells Netanyahu perpetrators will be prosecuted. On to the top story this hour. At least 24 people have been killed in an explosion on Saturday at a railway station in Pakistan's Balochistan province. More than 40 others are wounded in the blast at the Quetta railway station and have been transported to a local hospital. The blast reportedly took place inside the railway station when the Peshawar-bound express was about to leave for its destination. And in a significant ruling, Lahore's anti-terrorism court on Friday granted bail to former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan in 4 cases tied to the May 9th riots. Judge Arshad Javed approved Khan's pleas despite opposition from Punjab prosecutor General Farhad Ali, who argued that Khan had urged his supporters to target state buildings if arrested. Khan, meanwhile, has petitioned Islamabad High Court to prevent his May 9th cases from being tried in military courts. In a related development, Judge Mohammad Iqbal of the Special Anti-Terrorism Court acquitted 18 PTI members accused of damaging property and obstructing roads during May 9th protest, citing insufficient evidence. While the air quality in Lahore, the capital of Pakistan, has deteriorated so drastically that it now ranks as the most polluted city in the world, with air quality reaching hazardous category as the AQI index has reached above 550. The hazard has prompted the closure of schools and work from home mandates. Air pollution from clean smoke and crop burning has sparked government concern, prompting a major weather crisis in the region. Well, the protests in Bangladesh are not going to rest. In a fresh series of demands, Bangladesh Nationalist Party is asking for fresh elections from interim government chief Muhammad Yunus. On Friday in Dhaka, hundreds of thousands of people were on roads participating in a demonstration by the opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party, a long-time opponent of the ousted ex-premier Sheikh Hasina. They were demanding an immediate elections for parliament from the interim government of Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus. In Bangladesh, after Sheikh Hasina ousted from the prime ministerial position, there is not any elected government. Parliament has also been dissolved and the interim government is only responsible to the president, whom students activists have been demanding to resign. BNP is the main party in political activities in Bangladesh at the moment, as many curbs have been posed on Sheikh Hasina's Awami League.
We are here to protest. We demand a free and fair election on the Tariq Rahman. We want our country to have a fair election and we want to develop our nation in a very good way.
Our demand is for a quick election. If our party comes to power, it will benefit the people. Prices will be reduced and we will ensure affordable food, especially for the poor who struggle with food prices. Our government will make food accessible to everyone.
Well, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday wrote an article in honor of Ratan Tata, one of the noted industrialists who died a month ago. In his signed article in Indian Express newspaper, op-ed, Prime Minister Modi said that the absence is deeply felt across every segment of society globally. Ratan Tata passed away in Breach Candy Hospital, Mumbai on October 9th. Remembering even after a month, Prime Minister mourned his death by underlining that all miss him globally. He mentioned in his article that those passionate about the environment and devoted to philanthropy are equally saddened. PM said that for the youth, Sri Ratan Tata was an inspiration, a reminder that dreams are worth pursuing and that success can coexist with compassion as well as humility. Prime Minister Modi said that Ratan Tata represented the finest traditions of Indian enterprise and a steadfast commitment to the values of integrity, excellence and service. Prime Minister Modi remembered Ratan Tata also for his contributions in fight against terrorism, saying that a swift reopening of the iconic Taj Hotel in Mumbai after the 26/11 terror attacks was a rallying call to the nation, being united and refusing to yield to terrorism. Prime Minister Modi said, and I quote, "Just a few weeks ago, I was in Vadodara with the President of the Government of Spain, Mr. Pedro Sanchez, and we jointly inaugurated an aircraft complex where C-295 aircrafts would be made in India. It was Sri Ratan Tata who started working on this. Needless to say, Sri Ratan Tata's presence was greatly missed," unquote. And political parties intensify election campaign for assembly polls in Indian states of Maharashtra and Jharkhand. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to address huge public meetings in Maharashtra's Akola and Nanded on November 9th to highlight the government's policies aimed at boosting Indian economy. Maharashtra will go for assembly polls on November 20th and votes will be counted on November 23rd. Meanwhile, India's Union Minister Amit Shah will hold public meetings in Jharkhand's Chhatarpur, Hazaribagh, Potka and Jamshedpur on November 9th. Polls for Jharkhand Assembly will be held in 2 phases on the 13th and 20th of November. Now let's take a look at other stories making news today. India's Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, launched the Shaurya Gatha project, a significant initiative aimed at preserving and promoting India's rich military heritage. The project is a collaborative effort between the Department of Military Affairs and the United States Institution of India, 2 key entities dedicated to strengthening India's defence history and fostering public understanding of its armed forces. The project also aims to boost military tourism by promoting military heritage sites and war memorials across India. In Kerala, the Thiruvananthapuram International Airport will suspend the flight operations temporarily for 5 hours today from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. IST to accommodate the Alpasi Arattu procession linked to Sri Padmanabhaswamy Temple. The airport authorities had issued guidelines well in advance for the hassle-free travel of the passengers, and the airlines had rescheduled the flights accordingly. 5 people died and several others were injured after a bus collided with a parked vehicle on the Agra-Lucknow Expressway in Firozabad district. The bus was en route from Mathura to Lucknow when it collided with a parked vehicle near Thana Nasirpur on the Agra-Lucknow Expressway. Delhi residents woke up to thick smog and poor air quality on Saturday as air quality of national capital remained in the very poor category with an air quality index of over 300 in many areas. The smog, primarily caused by vehicular emissions and stubble burning in neighbouring states, has sparked concern over rising pollution issues among the residents. Authorities urged residents to limit outdoor activities, especially vulnerable groups such as children, the elderly and those with respiratory conditions. And still to come in this edition of DT India Live. Renowned Indian musician Ricky Cage nominated for 4th Grammy Award for his latest music album, Break of Dawn.
In agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on, US President-elect Donald Trump's Republican Party held on to a narrow edge on Friday as election officials tallied the final votes. This will determine control of the US House of Representatives. Republicans have secured 212 seats till now, 6 short of the majority in the 435-member chamber, with 23 races left to be called. According to projections by Edison Research, Republicans are set to hold a majority of at least 53 seats in the Senate. The Senate or upper chamber and the White House have already flipped to Republicans, meaning Donald Trump could have significant power to carry out his political agenda after he's sworn in on 20th January 2025. Control of the House gives the party the power to initiate spending legislation and launch impeachment proceedings against the officials. And the United States has charged an Iranian man in connection with an alleged plot ordered by Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards Corps to assassinate President-elect Donald Trump. In a statement, Justice Department said that Farhad Shakeri had informed law enforcement that he was tasked on October 7, 2024 with providing a plan to kill Trump. Shakeri allegedly told law enforcement he had no plans to formulate a plan to kill Trump within the IRGC's timeline. The department described Shakeri, 51, as an IRGC asset residing in Tehran. It said he immigrated to the US as a child and was deported in or about 2008 following a robbery conviction. Shakeri is at large and believed to be in Iran. 2 other individuals charged on Friday, Caslisley Rivera and Jonathan Lloyd Hall, 2 American citizens, were arrested in New York and accused of helping the Iranian government surveil a separate US citizen of Iranian origin. And a federal judge on Friday granted a request by special counsel Jack Smith to pause the case against Donald Trump for conspiring to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. In a filing with District Judge, Smith noted that Trump won the white race this week and is to be inaugurated as president on January 20, 2025. He asked the judge to vacate the filing deadlines in the case to afford the government time to assess this unprecedented circumstance and determine the appropriate course going forward consistent with Department of Justice policy. Judge granted Smith's request without comment. The Justice Department has a long-standing policy of not prosecuting a sitting president. Smith said he would file a status report with the court by the 2nd of December. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called Donald Trump to congratulate him on his presidential election victory. Tesla CEO and Trump supporter Elon Musk also took part in the 25-minute phone call between both the leaders. During the call, Trump said that he would support Ukraine and maintain advanced cooperation. Musk also extended his support and said that he would continue supplying Starlink satellites. As per the reports, Musk was physically present with Trump during the call. Musk's presence underlines his close ties to the next U.S. president. Zelensky further thanked Musk for the Starlinks, referring to the satellite internet devices used by Ukrainian troops during the conflict. Well, moving on, former U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi said if President Joe Biden had ended his re-election bid sooner, the Democratic Party could have held a competitive nominating process to choose his replacement. In an interview to the New York Times, Pelosi said she thought the Democratic candidate Vice President Kamala Harris would have done well in that and been stronger going forward. But that did not happen. She said that since Biden endorsed Harris immediately, that really made it almost impossible to have a primary at that time. Republican Donald Trump soundly defeated Harris and used his election to recapture the White House. Biden, 81, ended his re-election bid in July and immediately endorsed Harris after a poor debate performance against Trump, sparking concerns that he could not beat the former president or complete a second 4-year term. Well, the New York Times on Friday reported that U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's transition team has prepared executive orders and proclamations on withdrawing from the Paris Climate Agreement and shrinking the size of some national monuments to allow more drilling and mining. The report added Trump is also expected to end the pause on permitting new liquefied natural gas exports to big markets in Asia and Europe and revoke a waiver that allows California and other states to have tighter pollution standards. And now let's go over to my colleague Shubhendu Ghosh, who is in Washington, D.C. He scans to how prominent newspapers are covering Trump poll promises, even when he'll take 2 months to take over the mantle of power in USA. Take a look.
This magnificent tower that you're looking at is called the Washington Memorial. It's over 550 feet tall monument. It's an obelisk in the memory of the first president of America, George Washington. That was the year 1789 when he became the president. We are in 2024. We now know the 47th president of the US. Donald Trump is the president-elect. Let's scan through the newspapers to see what's in the papers regarding his presidency and other stories. Washington Post, the first paper, is carrying the picture of the outgoing president, Joe Biden. This is after he promised a smooth transition of power and reinforced the legitimacy of the electoral system. There's another article following that picture. It says Biden welcomes to power a man he deemed a threat. Sort of political irony. Biden has been for the past 5 years talking about how his presidency, the reason why he ran for office was to keep Donald Trump at bay, calling him a fascist and a threat to democracy. And now Joe Biden must welcome Donald Trump back into the White House. Another article we're looking at is about the kind of legislations that Donald Trump and the Republican Party would be looking to do, especially in the domain of tax cuts. GOP, Republican Party, is set for quick work on trillions in tax cuts. The 2017 law extension, new reduction are the aim. If the party sweeps the Congress, they've already got the Senate. All eyes are on whether they'll be able to retain the House of Representatives. If they're able to, a lot of legislations could pass smoothly for them. President-elect Donald Trump is poised to push swiftly for new tax cuts if Republicans win the full control of the Congress, that is both Senate and the House of Representatives. So the next paper we're looking at is the New York Times. On the front page, it analyzes what led to the big win for Donald Trump. It says President-elect spun his own grievances into political gold. Goes on to explain it. It says that he became, as it were, a vessel for the anger of millions of Americans, especially cost of living and other crises. He says that the grievances that he would talk about against the administration, they became, as it were, the narrative of the MAGA movement, Make America Great Again, to which the Republican Party also associated itself. And those grievances also seem to reflect the grievances of people, ordinary Americans, against the administration. And the failed assassination attempt only added to his popularity, especially among his followers. And the final paper I'm looking at is the Wall Street Journal. It talks about foreign policy, likely foreign policy of Donald Trump. The headline says Trump to renew maximum pressure against Iran with new oil sanctions. President-elect Donald Trump, the article says, plans to drastically increase sanctions on Iran and throttle its oil sales as part of the aggressive strategy to undercut Tehran's support of violent Middle East proxies and its nuclear program. Remember earlier during his first term, Donald Trump took a dim view of Iran, especially vis-a-vis the Six-Nation Agreement that Iran had entered into that sought to curb Iran's nuclear weapons work. So those were some of the highlights of the papers published today. With camera person Jay Shankar, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in Washington, D.C.
All right, and moving on, Amsterdam has banned demonstrations for 3 days after Israeli soccer fans were beaten and injured in violent clashes in Amsterdam. Dutch police had launched a major investigation into multiple incidents following the Europa League soccer game Thursday night between Israel's Maccabi Tel Aviv and Dutch side Ajax Amsterdam has implemented several additional security measures in the wake of the unrest. Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof said he was horrified by the anti-Semitic attacks on Israeli citizens. Besides, he has assured Netanyahu that the perpetrators will be identified and prosecuted. An Israeli FM, Gideon, arrived at Dutch airport after attacks on fellow citizens soccer fans. Saar met Dutch Chief Justice Minister David Van Wiel and far-right leader Geert Wilders in Amsterdam on Friday. The ministers discussed the assaults on Israeli soccer supporters in the city. Meanwhile, the global leaders have also condemned the attacks on Israeli soccer fans in Amsterdam. U.S. President Joe Biden called the incident despicable and echoed dark moments in history when Jews were persecuted. Moreover, EU's Michel von der Leyen condemned attacks on Israeli soccer fans. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said she was outraged by the violence. And terrorist group Houthis have claimed to shot down US drone in Yemen on Friday. The Iran-aligned group's military spokesperson Yahya Sarria said that had downed MQ-9 Reaper in the airspace of the Yemeni province of El Jor. A video footage was also released for the same. And 2 flights carrying 394 deported migrants landed in Guatemala City on Friday. The immigration authorities said that the deportees were primarily detained at the US-Mexico border while attempting to enter the United States. They were processed by the Guatemalan Migration Institute, who also assisted them in returning to their original communities. While awaiting registration, the migrants expressed hope that Donald Trump would provide them with the opportunity to return to the United States on temporary work visas. Well, more than 130 homes are now known to have been destroyed by raging wildfire burning outside Los Angeles as a break in the weather gave firefighters a chance to tame the blaze. After surveying the damage, Governor Gavin Newsom signed an emergency proclamation to help crews extinguish the Southern California wildfire. Since it broke out on Wednesday morning, the nearly 32-square-mile blaze has sent thousands fleeing from their homes, damaging 88 structures in addition to the 132 destroyed. While Cuba's power grid is slowly recovering after Hurricane Rafael struck, leaving millions without electricity, officials reported on Friday that power had been restored to nearly 20% of Havana. Rafael's impact knocked out hundreds of power lines, deepening the crisis for Cuba's fragile electrical grid, which had collapsed multiple times just weeks prior, triggering protest. The devastation follows Hurricane Oscar's recent hit to eastern Cuba, worsening shortages of food, fuel and medicine. While parts of central and eastern Cuba regained electricity, western areas, including Pinar del Rio, remained mostly powerless. Despite some progress, grid operator UNE warns of continued blackouts due to the generation deficit. In response, Russia pledged 80,000 tons of diesel fuel to support Cuba's strained energy supply. And now to some sports news now. Sanju Samson scored a sensational century as India eased past South Africa by 61 runs in the first T20 international in Durban. Samson played a belligerent knock as India posted a big total of 202 for 8 after getting an invitation to bat first. The wicket-keeper batter smashed 107 off 50 balls with the help of 7 fours and 10 sixes. Samson became the first ever Indian batter to smash 2 consecutive tons in T20 international cricket and in 4th overall. Meanwhile, Gerald Coetzee was the best bowler for the host with figures of 3 for 37 in 4 overs. For India, Varun Chakravarti's 3 for 25 and Ravi Bishnой's 3 for 28 broke the back of South Africa as the host got bundled out for 141. And renowned Indian musician and 3-time Grammy Award winner Ricky Cage gets his 4th Grammy nomination for his latest music album, Break of Dawn. The latest nomination is the first ever solo artist Grammy nomination for an Indian since the legendary Pandit Ravi Shankar, and the only one this year. The latest Grammy nomination is a testament to his continued influence and innovation in the Indian music industry as he seeks to inspire both listeners and the medical community to explore music's healing power. With this Grammy nomination, Ricky Cage once again sets a powerful example of how music can inspire positive changes across the globe. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.